All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Debbie Elliott. I am Customer Success Manager here at Mitchell Humphrey by TripleView. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm also very happy to see that many of you were able to take time out of your afternoon today to take part in this. By this, what I'm referring to is today we are pulling back the curtain on where FMS is headed and what we've been working on. And today you'll be hearing from four of us. We've got Andrew Draper. He is CEO of TripleView, and he'll be sharing his vision for FMS and walking you through what's coming. Hassan Raza, he's our senior software developer, and he's going to walk you through the redesign he's been building and working on. Chris Mellenbacher is our Director of Customer Success, and he'll be walking you through our new FMS Learning Library. And I know that a lot of you have already seen an email come from us asking for you to take part and get your feedback on the Learning Library. And I appreciate that feedback because we were able to launch that because of that feedback. So thank you for that. Before we get into it, I just want to take a moment for some quick housekeeping and then we'll jump right in. And we have a lot to cover, so I promise that this 1 hour is going to be worth it for you. Right. A quick note before we get started. So I'm going to give you a minute to read through this, but the short version, essentially what it's saying is what you're seeing today is it's actual work in progress. It's not concepts or mock-ups. It reflects exactly where we genuinely are and where we're headed. And with that being said, I think we all know that things can shift, timelines and priorities can evolve as development progresses. So even though we're not able to make any timeline guarantees, we'll always be straightforward with you about where we stand and where we are in the development cycle. So what you're seeing today, it's just the beginning, and we're really excited to showcase this and for you to see where we're headed, and we're really interested to hear your feedback as we move along through this. All right, today's agenda. So we've got a really full hour planned, so I'm going to walk you through what we have in store. We're going to kick things off with a quick introduction from each of us, and then Andrew, he is going to share his vision for where FMS is headed for 2026 and beyond. From there, we'll pause and we'll hear from you through a poll that we have. We have a live poll coming up where we want to hear what matters to you as far as FMS improvements. Then Andrew and Hassan, they're going to walk you through a preview of what's actually being built and what Hassan has been working on. And I think you're really going to like what you see there. Chris and I will then introduce you to something that we're really excited about, which is the new FMS Learning Library and what that's going to mean for you and your team day to day. And then we'll close out with some Q&A, and we'll do another quick poll. And then we'll do next steps before we let you go. So with that, we've got a lot of ground to cover, so we'll get into it. Another quick thing before we start, this recording, this session is being recorded. So you'll receive the link after the event. We'll get it emailed out to you. So you don't need to worry about capturing everything yourself or feverishly taking notes. You can focus on the webinar, the full presentation, and just absorb it. We'll send it out to you after it's over. If you have any questions come to the forefront as we're going through this, right as they're fresh on the top of your head, go ahead and submit those through Q&A panel. Within Teams, you'll see on the meeting chat that there is a Q&A section up at the top. There are a few tabs up there. There's chat, there's one that's called shared, and then there's Q&A. That Q&A section, that's where you're going to drop your questions as we all move through this. So any question that you might have, just go ahead and drop it in there. We will be holding all the questions until the dedicated Q&A block near the end. But we will answer all questions, whether they be live or if we're not able to answer one live, we'll go ahead and follow up after the webinar is over. And we'll follow up on that then. Both the slides and the recording will be emailed out to everyone who registered, whether they were able to attend or not. we'll send those out. And those can always be forwarded. So if there's somebody who was not able to attend and you think this would be beneficial for them, go ahead and forward it over to them, and they can have it as well. There's a lot of good information in here. All right, so to get us started, I know I talked about polls a little bit earlier. We're going to be doing live polls throughout this webinar so that you can interact with what we're doing here. So we'll go ahead and do a quick setup on that. As I mentioned earlier, they're live. So in order to interact with them, I'm going to have you do the following. I talked about the Q&A link or the Q&A section of the chat. If you go in the Q&A section, you'll see where I placed a link. And if you click on that link, that's going to take you directly to what's called Slido. That's what's hosting our polls. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to put any kind of code in there. Just click directly on that link. It's going to take you to the web page. That'll get you there. If you want to interact on your mobile phone, you can do that as well. Just take your mobile phone and get that QR code. It'll take you directly to the same place without having to enter anything in. If you're on your desktop and you want to just do it manually, just pop open a browser and put slido.com in, and you're going to enter the code 1316853. And once you do any one of those three ways to get there, it's going to land you in the same place. And you'll probably see there are no active polls at this time. And that's fine. There are none. You're in the right place. You won't see any polls pop up until I get to that section on my slide. But then at that point, you'll see that they're live and dynamic. So leave this page open throughout the webinar. And as I said, they'll appear as we get there. So,
one other clarifying detail on that, Deb, just also note in the top right-hand corner, there's a little icon that's a avatar. Helpful if you just click on that and enter your name in there. Otherwise, the polls all come across, results come across as anonymous, which is fine if you want to be anonymous. But otherwise, little icon's helpful.
Yep. Thank you. Right. All right. So here we are. We're going to meet the team. Andrew, I'm going to give it to you. Go ahead and
sure.
Take
Thanks,
it away.
Deb. So I'm Andrew Draper, as known as CEO at Triple U Technologies. We are the company that recently acquired Mitchell Humphrey and the FMS products. We have Triple U was established in 2019, and we are primarily we're exclusively in the public sector market, specifically public administration software as well as public safety software. We are in constant lookout for new and innovative products to add to our portfolio of companies. And this is Mitchell Humphrey represents one of those, our most recent investment that we've made in that space. We're very pleased with the decision that we made in acquiring the company, and really looking forward to the things which we can do to help with that. And we'll talk more about that later. I've been in the public sector market for a number of years, and very well tuned with what's going on in the space, and look forward to what we got to share with you later today. Okay, Chris.
Hi, everyone. So for those who don't know me yet, I'm Chris. I'm our Director of Customer Success. I've been with Mitchell Humphrey / TripleView for just about 8 months now. If you're wondering what a Director of Customer Success does, it's essentially my job to ensure that our team is providing you the best possible support. That could be directly in some cases, and in other cases it might be indirectly through things we're putting out to you, like this webinar, for example. Those of you who don't have my contact info yet, I would love to include that in our follow-up email after this. I get teased internally for how many calls I have on a daily basis, but I'm kind of old school in that way, so I'd love to chat with anyone who's interested directly. Never be shy to reach out to me, please. And we'll move to, I think, Hassan next.
Thanks, Chris. So, hey, everybody. My name is Hassan Raza. I have been a developer for about 11 years, and I work as a senior developer in the backend team that we have that works on the FMS product right now. That.
All right. And you all probably already know me, and I introduced myself in the beginning. My name is Debbie, and I've been with Mitchell Humphrey for close to 2 years now. It revolves, my world is pretty much all around FMS and all of the clients who use it. I own your accounts, which means I'm your go-to for just about everything. So whether, I think I've worked with a lot of you on your upgrades, I've done some training with some of you and some customization discussions with you or answering questions about how your software works on a day-to-day basis. Pretty much, if you've reached out to us before, I've probably already worked with you. And if I haven't, I hope today changes that. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Andrew for the CEO vision and roadmap.
Okay, thanks, Deb. So really, I'm just going to walk you through things that we're thinking about, what's on the top of our minds, as well as in our current roadmap, and also looking further down the road into the longer term future. As noted, Deb mentioned that we're going to show you some things that are active in development today, and what are we working on, and we're going to share some really, we think they're pretty exciting things. We will leave that to you to decide about where we're going and what we're proposing to do with the Mitchell Humphrey FMS product. We definitely recognize that this is an area where we need to and are interested in and actively working to invest in. So maybe just jump forward to the next slide, and I'll share a little bit about kind of two things we're going to touch on. One is the vision that kind of looks to what is our longer term goals, both and what's driving our decision making today. And then we'll talk a bit about the journey. How are we going to get there? It's going to take some time. We're not going to be able to immediately complete all of the things in our vision, but they are what we are working on. And the journey just really speaks to how we're going to get there and how we're going to interact and engage with you as our users, as well as we try to bring the innovation that's in our industry today and bring that to bear on the FMS products that you are so familiar with. So the next slide, I'm going to break that down into some more specific details. So let's talk about the vision. So we recognize that the Mitchell Humphrey product is feature rich. It's been around for many years, and sometimes in the industry of sort of software industry, old seems to have some bad connotations. But in our context of ERP software, old is good, because what that means is it represents the collective intelligence and wisdom of the ages. It's not the latest whimsical ideas of the current and amount of knowledge and what people know. This is really about what everybody has learned over the decades as this product has evolved and matured. And as such, it starts to be able to more clearly represent the full, rich features that users are looking for. And so that's really one of the great things about software that has been developed over the years, is that intelligence that makes it so amazing is captured, maintained, and enhanced in such a way that it still it's a very powerful tool to the end users. But over time, of course, the technology ages. And that really becomes the question of how do you modernize the technology? You don't want to lose that collective wisdom, the knowledge that's been captured in the functionality of the application, but you do need to continue to innovate around the evolving technical trends and the realities of the way the systems operate today. We have certain expectations about how the UI should look based on our experience working with other applications. And so we need to conform to those models and paradigms more carefully. We also have restrictions and requirements on the way that the hardware and servers and modern environments that we need to operate within. We can't rely on the hardware and technologies of the past as we move into the future. And so this modernization is really about reimagining that user experience. So when you sit in front of that machine and look to perform the daily functions of your life in in the FMS system, we want that to be a modern experience for you. So that's really the first pillar in our vision here is modernization. How do we bring this current functionally rich product into a modern era? And then extend the functionality. Now, although we speak about the richness of that function that the application has, there's things that evolve over time. I think the most evident one today is what's happening in artificial intelligence, AI, and how that's impacting the landscape that we all live in and operate in. And so as a result, we need to be careful, we need to be mindful of how do we extend within those new paradigms that are opening up in front of us. And so we're looking at how we can innovate within that space, AI being one of them, and others can just be simple, minor, nuanced innovations. And others can be more innovative. So things like that need to be included as we think about the roadmap that we know have been requested, things like how do we improve reporting? And you're going to see some of that today as Hassan takes us through a demo of what we've done so far. So in how reporting is an important part of what is missing in the current environment and part of that modernization, extending and innovating that we're doing. And then to grow, one of the things that, probably most of you are quite well aware, Mitchell Humphrey has not added any new customers to their FMS platform in a number of years. We see that as something we want to change. As the product is modernized, as we finish and move through the extension and innovation parts of our vision, we want to grow that market and add new customers. Now, as noted, we're public sector focused as an organization, and so that's a space where we will do most of our lead and opportunity and prospecting is within that space, but it still allows us to continue to support all of the customers that are on that platform as we continue to grow the business in that space. So if we move from the vision and start more now to the journey, how do we get there? It's not I do not as an individual. I come from the R&D side of the business. I grew up through as a software developer, and slowly made changes in my throughout the changes in my career, ended up in different positions, but really have my roots back in product and what product is and how important product is to us as a business. And one of the things that I have as one of my prime ethos is I don't like big bangs, which means I don't like to see software roll out and big giant big bangs where suddenly everything in your world changes. And we're working hard to ensure that this is as we work through this journey, it's something that you're part of the journey. It's part of a collaboration that we go through. And so that's really reflected in these 5 steps. So first is that reimagining, and we've been going through that exercise here internally to imagine how do we take this platform product we have today, how do we reimagine that into the future? And so that's been something we've been working on. And again, you're going to see some of that today from Hassan as he talks us through the work that he's started working on. And then we want to collaborate. So as we reimagine and we want to be able to collaborate with you as our end users. We want to share and gather input. And so today we're going to ask for some of that. We're going to, we're looking for your considerations on what you think about what we're showing you. Are we on mark? Are we sort of out in the left field? Are we addressing issues that are prevalent in your current lists of things that are important to you? And that collaboration cycle will be one we continually come back to you, asking for your feedback, giving us input on what we're doing and ensure we're heading in the right direction. And then we try to take those refinements from that collaboration. We go into a deep creation mode of really now building that piece of functionality or modernization, whatever it is we're working on at the time, and then we start to deploy it. So as noticed, we will be deploying pieces in small little chunks. So you'll have opportunity to preview them as part of the collaboration effort, but also once they go into production, be able to deploy them. You'll start to see them come out slowly over time. And one of the beautiful things about the work we're doing here is that and you'll see this in Hassan's presentation, is the fact that nothing that we're doing is going to deprecate the functionality or the ability to use the existing desktop application. So as we roll out this new modernized browser-enabled application, you continue to be able to use the desktop application in parallel with both systems. And so there's really no urgency to make any dramatic shifts. It becomes more of an evolutionary adjustment to how the systems are working. And we believe that the work we're doing so far and that you'll see today is really familiar to you. You're not going to find yourself in this stark place where you can't recognize where you are or what the navigation looks like or how to do something on a particular screen. You'll find a lot of familiarity to that. And where we are bringing in something completely new, like as an example in reporting, we're using a lot of mainstream technologies, things that you can easily find tutoring on even on YouTube videos or other content, and things that we can provide you with training on. So even in those areas, as we bring those things in, we're trying to stay close to mainstream and leading products in that space that really make it easier for you to adopt it and embrace it within the organization. So that's the vision, and that's the journey of how we want to get there, and what you'll start to see. We'll talk a little bit as Hassan goes through his demo, and you'll get a better sense of how that might look as we go ahead. So, thank you. Back to you, Deb.
All right. Okay, and then here we are. We're at our first poll. So with this one, we want to hear what you'd like to see improved most with FMS. And as I mentioned earlier, you should see on your screen the poll. So this particular poll, it's ranked. So be sure to select the options in the order that you'd like to see them. And one thing to mention, it's just one thing that Andrew mentioned earlier, at the bottom below send, you'll see that your vote defaults to anonymous, and that's fine if you want to keep it that way. We've already got some people voting. I love that. But if you want to change that and you want to fill in your company and your name, that will give us an idea of who contributed what and what's important to you and your site specifically. So email address is optional. You don't have to put that in there. If you have something that you'd like to suggest as a write-in option, you can drop that in the chat as well. Not in the chat, I said chat, I lied, it's the Q&A. Drop it in the Q&A, and if you have a write-in option, I wasn't able to put that in as a write-in option on this poll, but you can always drop that in the Q&A if you'd like. So I'll let everybody kind of get their thoughts in.
Every time it moves, I guess that's a new person submitting their ranking, which is amazing to see that so many people are contributing. Thank you all.
Yeah. Okay. Somebody else there. It looks like reporting and data exports is the biggest one, followed by ease of use and navigation, dashboards and analytics, integrations with other tools, faster, easier access to help and support. So this looks good. Now, if I move off of this, Andrew, do you know if I move off of this, there's still
no, you kind of have to wait until the poll's active until you move off of that. So you've had 25 of the 50 participants have voted so far.
Okay.
So just give a few minutes and let everybody give us their input. Once you see no more active in the top corner where it says active poll, it'll give you a sense of who's typing or not. It looks like everyone's done who's going to enter in their results.
Looks like it. Okay. All right. So here we are for future features preview. I will hand this over to Andrew and Hassan. I'll start with you, Andrew, if you want to go ahead and start this up and then introduce Hassan.
Sure, we can jump into that. So I'm, a lot of what you're going to see today is really the work that Hassan has been doing over the last few months Well, okay, I oversimplify that. A little bit longer than the last few months. For the last while, as he's been looking at how we can really build an application that is, as meets the vision and provides us the journey that we're looking for, and that has really been what he's been focused on, and how we could actually do that. So what you're going to see today is a demo. So this is not vaporware in the sense that it's something we're just going to show you some pretty pictures of. What you're going to see here is actual work in progress, and allow you an opportunity to ask some of those questions that might pop into your mind as we go through this journey. But that's really the important thing to take away from here, is this is something we're actually working on and that you're actually going to see. What's also important is to understand how this is all going to work, and we'll talk a little bit about kind of how this environment will evolve over time, and how you can have these systems operating seamlessly together and working in unison with each other. So I'm going to pass that off now to Hassan and give him an opportunity to start to show you some of his beautiful workmanship.
Thank you, Andrew. Let me share my screen. Okay. I hope all of you guys can see my screen. What we are started to work on is a web version of the current application that we have, which is deployed on the client's desktop, which is a WPF application. It is a bit dated as well, so that's why we're going towards the web platform now. While building the web platform, things that we're kind of keeping in mind that we're very careful with is what Andrew mentioned before, that we're trying to make sure that it's very similar in workflows and user usage to what they are used to right now. So it's very familiar to them when it goes live. So what is this app built on? So this is the Blazor .NET 8, .NET 9 application, which runs on a browser itself. So there's no desktop installation required, which is one of the things that every user has to go through. So if there's a new user that gets onboarded on a client side, one of the things that need to happen is there's an installation that needs to take place for that WPF application to be installed. This makes it a lot easier, where the user just has to go to the browser and sign in, and they have the FMS application open to them. We are, as I mentioned, that we're keeping the workflows the same. We're keeping the menus and the form layouts pretty much the same as well. We're going to obviously try to make sure that there's, because right now one of the things we noticed is there's a lot of clicks the user has to do to perform actions as well. So that is something that we have in mind, and we're going to try to improve on that so that there's not a lot of clicks or navigating around the user has to do in order to perform an action that they want to. With this application, there's no VPN required, which is something that's a requirement right now in some clients' servers, and there's no Citrix or remote desktop involved in this. This is just a user logging on to the browser and starting the FMS application. It will work on all devices, so it will work on on any laptop. On any laptop itself, but we're not saying that we're going to try to make it mobile friendly, but we're going to try our best as possible. So the problems that we're trying to solve, obviously, it's a legacy application that we currently have that is deployed on desktop right now, which ties the user to a Windows machine. It's difficult to maintain, especially when it comes to updates. So a lot of the clients have different versions that are deployed on their servers right now, which is difficult for us to maintain. It's difficult for them to upgrade as well because it takes time and resources. The onboarding is a little difficult as well because any user that's coming on, you have to install that whole application on their machines, and we have seen some issues with that as well due to clients' servers being on different versions and upgrades that they do on their side as well. This app will eliminate all of that while keeping the same workflows together. So now I'll go through some of the views that we have worked on and that we have built, so you can just get an idea. So similar login screen to what we have right now as well. One of the changes that we're looking at right now that we're exploring is the SSO as well. So that is something that we will be doing as well. So that will make it easier for the clients to not remember more than one password than they already have, meaning you can use your Windows machine credentials to be able to log in. So it will give you different options for SSO to be able to log in as well. So we will have that replacement coming in. But for now, so if you click connect, so a lot of this should be familiar to a lot of you guys, where you have the FMS, My Activities, FMS menus, the private general ledger, the command prompts, the correct commands that you can execute as well. On the top, you have the home with activity bar, the clipboard, and the views. So this is just to give you an idea that it's mostly being kept the same as what options you see on the current desktop application. We are obviously doing as many improvements as possible, but this should make it easier for any user who's using the current desktop application to migrate over to the web platform. Going through some of the views that we have already built. So some of the examples I can show you is, so this is one of the views. For instance, if I go through, you can see the list views are pretty, they're using Bootstrap CSS designs in the backend, so that it gives us a lot of flexibility when it comes to the user interface itself as well. Most of the views you will see there's quick find, which allows the user to filter down the results while being on the browser page itself. So there's no reload or anything like that. It's right on the Blazor server is going to respond right away and filter down the results as quickly as possible. When the user does any selections, you can see the counts at the bottom. So it's very similar to what we have right now, where they can actually filter the results based on the letter of the name itself. So those options are already built in. If I go to another one, so one of the things that we wanted to allow the user to do is to have multifunction kind of layout. So that in the current application, if the user opens up a form itself, they have to save and close before they don't have the ability to open up multiple forms in parallel. So that's why we have gone with the layout of having these tabs open. So it allows the user to jump back and forth and have the information updated from one form to the other seamlessly, and then also gives them the ability to multitask as well. A lot of these processes that are on some of the forms that allows the user to filter, they are collapsible so that it allows the user to see more real estate on the site, on the page itself as well. Again, you'll notice that there's quick find that's on every form as well, that allows you to instantly filter down the results as well. And you can do any action from there. If I go to online inquiry, so list views are pretty much the same on all of the different forms that you will see. And some of the actions that the performance is one of the things that we're keeping in mind, which is when it comes to the data itself. But the other is how the user navigates from one form to the other. So that if I'm in the online inquiry and I double click on this, you can see that it's pretty good when it comes to performance as well. So that is something that we are keeping in mind to make sure that the data that's loading on the page itself is not taking a long time to execute as well. But as I said, most of the when it comes to the views itself, you can see a consistency between the views itself as well. So that is the web platform that we currently have that we're continuously working on. The next thing I wanted to show was the actual architecture of the web application. So it's the user that's going to be on-prem, that's going to be a home user. Wherever they're trying to log in, they're going to log in using the web application, which will make a call to the FMS cloud, which is the application name that we're calling our web layer itself. From there, any request, any form that's being loaded, it goes to the FMS server itself, which is also sitting in the cloud itself. From there, any request that has to go and connect, that has to go and grab the data from the client's machine, because keep in mind, when it comes to the data itself, the database itself, it's still going to be sitting on client server. That is not going to be, that's not going to go into the cloud itself. So we need a way to connect to the client's database server itself. So what we're using for that is the Azure VPN gateway tunnel manager, which allows us to VPN to the client and connect to their on-prem database itself and grab the data and then return that data back onto the FMS cloud and represent that data to the user itself. One thing I forgot to mention is there's a lot of forms that have different functionality of downloading data, for instance. So if I go through just as an example, if I want to export this data into Excel, the current functionality is that you can export this data into just Excel. What we're doing right now is, one, we're making it so that the user has two different options to export on the form itself. So you'll be able to export the data into Excel, and you'll be able to export the data into PDF as well. So I just wanted to mention that. Okay. So that was the web and the architecture itself that we have planned and that we're continuously working on right now. The next, what I wanted to talk about is the reporting side of the application. So currently, there's Crystal reports that are custom designed for each of the clients itself to be able to create those reports as they're needed. So what we're trying to do now is to offboard the Crystal reports and then bring in the Power BI. The Power BI will give us a lot more flexibility of the customizations, and then also it will provide us a lot of different tools where the user can filter the results, they can export the results into different formats, they can get the most recent results without having to go to the FMS application itself as well. So in order to show that, this is just an example that we've put together of a test Power BI report. What this basically displays is that here the user is able to see a table format of data that that shows you different values that are added up, that gives you information about, this is a test report, so it gives you information about different sales and per month and a lot of the different data. But one of the things that I wanted to show is that you can have now these graphs that are built in to these Power BIs, which gives you a lot more flexibility to export this data and show it to anybody that you want to and have a good understanding of what this data represents rather than looking at just a table formatted data. And also, it gives you the ability to filter down these results. So you can use these filters, and as you're using these filters, these three graphs are going to change and update accordingly as well. So here you can see that they're changing as I'm performing those actions. Same with this. So it gives you a lot more flexibility on the data that you need to export itself. Now, when it comes to exporting it, these are the options that it provides, and these are the options that we're setting up for the clients as well to be able to export this data into any format that they want to as well. And that's pretty much it. Back to you, Deb.
All right, I'll just take in a couple of comments to make on that, and just to point out, as noticed, the reporting is built on the Microsoft Power BI platform. So again, very familiar to some, but also very common across the industry. So something that we're keenly aware of, keeping it within the industry norms so that it makes it easy for you to learn and acquire skills and how to use those Power BI reports. And these reports are then, of course, editable by end users. So you can take those reports, decide how you would like them to be presented. You have the ability to create your own reports, and there's a robust design tool that is available through the Power BI platform, so you can go in and build your own reports. You're not constrained to just the reports that we build. Another point to note, Hassan shared with you kind of what the infrastructure and architecture of the application would look like with our new browser version of the application sitting in our FMS cloud, with the ability then to connect to your on-premise database. And this is there in that environment setup is defined in that manner in such a way that allows you to continue to have the desktop application working in that environment. So you can now connect to the desktop application and to the browser application simultaneously using the same data. And as you saw there in those screen design work that Hassan has done, that the familiarity with how that works is such that users should be able to move between the two with a fair degree of ease, but still have the fallback option to go to the desktop application if they felt like they just needed some extra guidance and direction when in an environment that they knew very well. In the course of time, if you reach a point in your organization where you say, you know what, I'm willing to, we can forego the desktop application. We've reached enough feature parity across the products that, everything's available on the browser app today. We can move to an entirely cloud-hosted environment where we can host both your database and your web application in our data environment. And the other sort of key takeaways as well is that we will constantly keep that browser application current and up to date. So you'll always be running the latest version of the most recently released code base. And that's important as well, because it means that, if there's ever any issues, they're fixed. If there's legislative updates that need to come out, they'll be deployed. You're constantly current on all of that information that's being published to this into our application. So lots of, I think, really exciting stuff that's being done there. I think Hassan and his team have done a great job at, getting to us to this particular point as we move forward. So now, we're looking to you for some feedback. We'll open it up at the end to some questions if you want to throw some ideas at us. We'll have opportunities to break out or have get your feedback on the work that's being done and get a general sense of, are we heading in the right direction? And then as we go through the balance of 2026, we anticipate that as we get closer to the end of this year, we'll be able to start to give you access with, fingers on the keyboard, as I would say, where you can actually get on and play with it. Now, as noted in the disclaimer, this is all part of our efforts to get there, and there may be roadblocks that we haven't yet encountered that might cause us to scratch our head and rethink that time frame. But in practical terms, our aspirations are that as we get through the end of 2026, we'll be in a position to start to deploy some of this functionality into an environment where you can now go in, experience it, try it, and get a real feel for it. Especially as you think about it from through the lens of reporting and what we can do there. All right. Thanks, Hassan. That was great and good work by you and the team.
Yeah, thank you, Hassan. I am super excited to see FMS evolving so much. It's really exciting. That's really good stuff. And I'm sure a lot of you have questions surfacing from seeing that. Again, if I haven't seen any questions come through, but if you go to the Q&A section of the meeting, you can drop your questions in there, any question that you might have. If you don't want to drop it in, you can email me as well, or email the MH help, and we'll address your question there as well. But we'd love to hear your questions and your feedback, both of them. So want to drop those in, feel free. And we'll, like I said earlier, what we don't get to live, we will follow up on after the webinar. So we will make sure that we answer everything. All right, so we're going to move to Chris with the Learning Library.
Yes, thank you, Debbie. So one of the most common things we hear is that while FMS is quite powerful once you know how to use it, With that power comes a level of complexity that can make it challenging to use to its fullest potential without the right guidance. When someone new joins the team or a process changes, it's not always easy to quickly ramp that person up or figure out how to manage the change. So that can result in some billable training with our team, digging through our product manuals, or a series of conversations with our support team. The problem with these options is that they're either budget or, there are budget or time constraints that don't always allow for the hands-on training. Our product documentation is great, but it's very detailed. I'm sure you'd all agree, anyone who's seen it, can make it a little bit difficult to navigate today. And while our support team will do their best, that channel is generally not the best for training. That's not really what it's there for, and it's going to be hard for your team to really dig in and learn what they need to through the support team. So this is where the Learning Library comes in. We built this for end users, new staff, really anyone who wants training on their own time without dealing with the hurdles I just mentioned. So what exactly is the Learning Library? The Learning Library is the new counterpart of our longer, more in-depth live training sessions. In this library, you'll find shorter videos between 5 and 30 minutes focused on one single topic each. So for example, let's say you are generally comfortable with FMS. You're just having one of those days, like we all have bad days sometimes, and you can't remember how to add a standard AP invoice. You're going to open the Learning Library, watch this video, and suddenly it's all clear, it's all making sense, and you're able to move on with your day effectively. As we continue to build this out, it is so important to us that we're putting our resources into what matters most to you as our customers. What we've built so far has been based on your feedback directly from the survey we sent out a little while ago, maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that. And when I'm done showcasing the library, we'll throw another poll up for you to rank how you would like us to prioritize our next videos. Your feedback is going to continue guiding our efforts, so please do open this poll. We got a ton of responses on the last one, which is just amazing. And hopefully you will be as generous with your responses on this next one, because we really want to prioritize what matters to everyone here. Okay, let's check out the library itself. We are going to send a link into chat, and by we, I mean Debbie. We'll send it into QA, please. And that will allow everyone here today to have the first look at what we've been working on before we launch it more broadly to all of our FMS customers. So today, you're essentially getting a sneak preview of the product of FMS. You're also getting this, I would say, early access to the FMS Learning Library. To access it, please click on the link that Debbie is sending or has sent and create an account. It's super simple to create an account. We only need your name, organization, email, and you can create a password. You can also use a Google login if you have that signed in on your device. Or if you just don't want to make an account today, you can just watch. It's fairly straightforward, and I'm sure you won't have problems. We'll walk you through it as well live. So that being said, I think we'll just take a very quick break to give anyone who wants to sign up like one or 2 minutes just to do so. And then we will jump into exploring the library itself. One thing I would add is please bookmark the link. We are going to send it afterwards as well, but just make sure you keep it. We're not going to distribute this widely across all FMS customers to start. This is, like I said, you're getting early access for joining us today. Once it's a little more fleshed out, we're going to share it more broadly across FMS customers. So feel free to bookmark that, share it amongst your team, your coworkers. And at some point, we'll do a formal launch once we have more lessons built out. But like I said, today it's early access. It's already 250 here, 150 for a lot of you guys. So maybe we'll move forward. What do you think, Debbie?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So hopefully everyone was able to log in by now. Here we are in our Learning Library. The first thing you may notice is the progress meter on the upper left part of the screen.
Chris, Debbie's video is running in the background for me. Is that?
Uh-oh. Is it?
Or maybe it's just me. Sorry, I think it was just mine. Sorry.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I think it's all good, right?
It's paused.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Kristen. Okay, so the first thing you might notice is the progress meter on the upper left part of the screen. It may not be relevant for people who want to use the library as a place just to jump in and quickly check one specific thing, but for those who really want to do a deep dive in and master all of the material covered in our videos, this feature will allow users to track their progress as they complete the content. This might be more useful for newer employees as well. And again, as we flesh it out, the idea is they can do a lot, if not all of their FMS trainings just strictly through this, if that's the approach you want to take. So under that, you'll see a search field. The drop-down menu, when you click on it, will list all of our lessons, but you can also type into the search bar to find what you're looking for. Right now, we only have a handful of videos uploaded, but as we scale this up and get closer to launch, the search feature it'll start becoming more useful to everybody. And then finally, we have our table of contents. So this is where you're going to find every module and every specific topic within that module that's covered in our library. Pretty straightforward to watch any video from here. You simply will click on the module, followed by the video you'd like to watch, and the video will play on the right side of your screen automatically. And then within that video, you're able to scale the resolution down if you're having a slow internet day, speed it up or slow it down. You know, some people like to watch training material at a faster speed. If it's maybe something really complex, you can even slow it down. And then you can also bring it full screen. It's all pretty straightforward stuff, similar to, you know, YouTube, things like that you've used. And then the last thing I want to draw your attention to is that we have enabled a discussion function in the library that you'll see on the top right of your screen. So if you have any comments on the video or you would like to open a discussion with us or fellow users, you can use this functionality. If you're looking for support on this topic, I would ask you to please continue to use our standard support channels. So either email MHHelp or call Debbie, and that's going to be the fastest, best way to get a response still. We're not going to as actively monitor the discussions. We'll take a look at them, of course, on a regular basis, but not really designed for support, I would say. Okay, that is it for the Learning Library. I am super excited to continue building this out. This is something that was taken directly from the feedback we've received from all of you, our customers. Again, we know the software is powerful, but sometimes you can use a little bit of help just understanding how to do something in it. So we want it to feel as accessible as possible between this and what Hassan's vision is that you saw. We definitely are putting all of our resources that we can into building that out for you. And as I mentioned, we are going to put another poll up. Please do give your feedback on this poll. We will very strictly be using this to guide our efforts and decide what to build out next in the Learning Library. And with that said, back to you, Debbie.
All right. Yeah. Thanks again for everybody who did get back to us on the email that we sent out about the Learning Library. As I said, that was very helpful to help us launch it. So this poll that's coming up, it has to do with our Learning Library. As Chris just said, it's a ranked poll again. So be sure to answer in the order that you'd like to see them. And if you don't see something in there and you want to write it in, just drop it in the Q&A. So, and I knew as I was putting these in here that financial inquiries would be a big one. So I'm happy to see that. As you're going through this, if you get to account maintenance, that includes, has to do with adding new accounts, copying accounts, activating, inactivating, and field code maintenance. And got about 19 have answered so far. We've got a couple more ranking.
Nice to see the rankings generally aligning with our expectations. It's always a good sign.
Yep. Agreed. Right.
I know we're a bit of a broken record, but
balances.
thank you all for doing this again. It really does help us a ton to understand where to put our resources.
Truly does, yeah. And again, if you don't see it on here, put it in the Q&A. Do a write-in. I said this before, when I was building these polls, there's not an option for me to put in a write-in. And if there is, I didn't see it. So if you have something that you want to suggest, put it in the Q&A or email me and let me know. All right, I don't see any more activity. I see 25 have polled so far. Do we feel like it's safe to move on? I will.
I think so.
Okay. All right, so again, I know I've said this a number of times as we were going through this webinar, but please submit your questions in the Q&A section. If you cannot find the Q&A section, I'm going to kind of point you again up in the meeting chat. If you're in the meeting chat, you'll see up at the top where it says exclusive FMS Product Showcase, you'll see chat and then Q&A. The Q&A section is where we would like you to drop your questions, and then we will answer them. Right now, I don't see any, so, or do I?
Yep,
Yep,
there is one
there
question
there
there from
is.
Jessica, Deb.
I see. Thank you,
Okay.
Jessica. So one of those is, before I get to that, I am going to, well, I'm not going to do our poll yet. So Jessica said, we have other apps with learning libraries and it gets confusing among the various versions. Will content be categorized by FMS version? That's a good question. Let's see here. So if I pull this screen over again, are you talking within the browser itself? Is that what you're referring to, Jessica?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, as far as, I guess I could name them FMS, field code maintenance. What other, I'm curious, what other application uses the learning library? I guess this is a broad, this academy is broad, but yeah, it could be named as an FMS to precede the name.
The question, so we currently have Questica, so a uniproduct, and when they did a jump from on-prem to cloud, they really needed to categorize their learning library content by on-prem or cloud.
Okay.
So it really helps.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, that's good information. We could definitely do that.
Yeah, so maybe in our titles we could say like V45 field code maintenance, for example, and then once we get to cloud, it can say FMS Cloud.
Yeah, that's a great
version,
idea.
whatever. That is actually
So you
really
can-
good feedback. Thank you.
You can distinguish between them. Yeah, I like that. Thank you. Is there anything else? I don't see any other questions. All right, well, I will move to our next poll then, and I'll keep my eye on the Q&A. Anybody else want to alert me to it, you can. All right, one last poll before we wrap it up. So today was just the beginning of us staying more connected and trying to get more connected with you all. We want to keep it on a cadence that works for all of you. So just let us know how often you like to see sessions like this. Every 6 months, as needed only, annually. This isn't a ranked poll. This is a one and you're done. So tell us which option you'd like.
Yeah, and just to give some color, I guess, on one of the things that inspired us to do this webinar was, some of you may remember, we sent out a survey just asking just trying to better understand how you're feeling about the product and the company and how we're supporting you. And we left some space to give us open feedback. And some of the feedback we heard was that we haven't been transparent enough, basically, since the acquisition. You guys don't really know what's going on. And we know we've been building some really exciting things, and there are great things on the horizon for us. So thank you, whoever gave us that feedback, because it did kind of turn that light bulb on for us, where it's like,
Yeah.
we actually haven't communicated this nearly as thoroughly as we should have. And that's why we're we're putting this poll out today just to understand how often do you actually want to have these sessions. We want to be maximally transparent with all of you. So we're going to run them on whatever cadence works for all of you as our customers.
We have another question from Kung. He asks, are there any plans to create a dynamic learning environment, possibly using AI? I'm going to let you speak to this, Chris.
Yeah, I guess it depends what you mean by dynamic. Actually, my original idea of the learning library was to create quizzes and things like that inside to make sure you're actually absorbing the content. I don't know if that's what you're referring to, Kuhn. And you can either unmute or follow up in the Q&A to answer.
Try to find the unmute button.
Okay.
You know, just instead of, just in addition to the static videos and tutorials, you know, should something come about, like what is the timeline to get like that new training video? And is there any like in between option to like get our immediate needs answered, I guess?
Yeah, so a couple points there. Definitely the best answer to get your immediate needs would be still reaching out either to Debbie directly or to our support team, and they are, you know, always ready to help you. As far as building dynamic content, I want to do it. So like I said, that was my original idea. I think it's a great concept. It can be a more engaging way to interact with this sort of training material. And so we are very AI forward as an organization. Every single TripleView person on this call is using AI multiple times per day, every day, and we're all keeping our fingers on the pulse of it. So as better options come available, definitely we're open to exploring them. And I would love to put something like that out there for sure. I think especially when we think about new employee onboarding, having something that's more engaging like that, it would be phenomenal.
Great. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that's all the questions I see, and that does it for the poll. We're landing at about every 6 months is the top answer. And that does it, everyone. I want to thank you all for taking time out of your afternoon to spend with us today. I know that you all are busy and you have a lot going on, so we really do appreciate it. And we were so happy to be able to connect with you and show you what we have planned. And we hope that we made it clear that there are big things on the horizon. FMS is evolving. So keep an eye on your inbox. We'll be sending out the recording and the slides so that you can revisit anything that you want to see and share it with anyone on your team who might find it beneficial. And we'll also drop in the details for the Learning Library. Any questions that you have today that we weren't able to get to, you can send them to myself or our support team, mhhelp@tripleview.com. And that's right down here. I think a lot of you probably already know that already, but it's mhhelp@tripleview.com, and I can help answer those questions as well. So as I said, we're really excited about where FMS is headed. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.